Let's make way for Ray Ratto, Bay Area longtime sports columnist, and here to separate fact from fiction with the Tom Brady 49ers rumors. Do you believe the rumors, Ray?
I believe that the 49ers would kick the tires. I believe that's where it ends.
Where it ends?
Yeah, look, I think they ask about a lot of things. I mean, they got Jimmy Garoppolo because they asked about Tom Brady 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was just a joke. But I think Kyle Shanahan, the general manager, investigates a lot of things that never really come to fruition. And this is one where I think the general manager on his left shoulder is telling him, well, go ahead and ask about it, but don't get your hopes up. And the coach on his right shoulder is saying, are you crazy? I just don't know that there's enough of a verifiable upside for the 49ers to do the let's get Brady and get rid of Garoppolo thing. It doesn't make sense to me, and I'm not sure that it makes sense to Shanahan.
Yeah, I was wondering about this from the Niners' perspective is you're going to basically say to somebody 15 years younger than Brady that we're going to cut you to make way for Brady to come in. Then he's got to get adjusted to Kyle Shanahan's system here. I know Brady wants to go where he can win, and if you said he could walk into the Niners lineup right now, it's probably the best place for him to try to win a championship, I'm guessing. But I just don't know the risk and the reward with that of betting on the next 2 years with Tom Brady or the next 7 to 10 years with Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you think that are we close to the ceiling with Garoppolo would be probably the one question I would want to know if the Niners feel that way.
I don't know what the Niners feel about him. I mean, they say all the right things, which of course means they're probably lying. But I think they know that he is a better than league average quarterback. He's coming off a year in which he basically put up Brady's numbers. And the real question is not about him. It's about whether the struggles that Brady had down the stretch are more indicative of the weapons around him or of a quarterback who's starting to see the event horizon. And I think that's the problem. It's just they kind of know what they have in Garoppolo. And what they have in Garoppolo is one of the many quarterbacks who isn't Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they had that game won. And what happened was Pat Mahomes did what Pat Mahomes does. And that's how they lost the Super Bowl. It wasn't that Jimmy Garoppolo threw up on himself. It's that the Chiefs do the thing that the Chiefs did about 4 or 5 other times that year, which is fall behind, then score 1,000,000 points in 40 seconds and win. And I think if you want to say that this is Jimmy Garoppolo's fault, you're probably guilty of thinking the quarterbacks are the only positions that matter in football, and they're not. So I mean, to me, if he was Andy Dalton, yeah, I think they'd think about it. If he was, a lot of quarterbacks, I think they'd think about it. But I think they view him as a good quarterback with the odd flaw or two, like most quarterbacks. I mean, he's not Drew Brees, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he's in the rest of that field. And I think it becomes now a risk reward. Do you want to pay twice as much money for a guy who's 15 years older and who's coming off a year in which he started to look old for one reason or another? And I just think that Kyle Shanahan is too conservative a thinker to make that kind of deal. And I mean, look, if Bill Belichick wants to make that kind of deal, where he gets the 28-year-old and the Patriots give up the 43-year-old, I'm thinking Bill Belichick knows something, and I'm going to try to avoid being the guy who thinks just opposite of him.
Yeah, I think what kind of went under the radar is that vaunted defense that folded in the fourth quarter. Like I can blame Garoppolo for not closing out and had a couple of throws. One got knocked down, but I think the defense is what lost that Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and I think the Chiefs' offense, which basically crushes and eats souls as a hobby, did that. I mean, they've done. If it wasn't for the fact that they had done it, before to Tennessee, and I watched them do it in 8 minutes against an Oakland defense, which isn't very good. I mean, I would say, yeah, the 49ers let down, but one of the things that made the Chiefs great was that they wear you down. They're standing on your chest the whole time and urging you to breathe. And eventually you stop. You just, I'm tired. Get off my chest. And that's when they beat you. So I think this was more a matter of Kansas City winning than the 49er defense losing, because I think Patrick Mahomes was that good this year that he could make even great defenses cry. And, I mean, the 49ers are not going to do anything material to their defense this year. I think they'll try to upgrade their secondary a bit, and they'll throw a bunch of money at Eric Armstead. Or they'll give that money to Tom Brady and then have to look with no quarterback at a future in 2 years that may have them have no quarterback for a while, because quarterbacks are not, in every aisle at Costco anymore. You've got to find a guy you love, and you've got to make sure he doesn't get hurt, and you've got to make sure you spend money to protect him and give him weapons. I mean, it's not easy to fix a quarterback vacuum, as many of the teams this winter who have quarterback vacuums are finding. People are tossing out, Phillip Rivers at 39 as a reasonable alternative. I mean, look, Tom Brady's resume is, it's painted gold and it stacks to the ceiling, but you're not getting the resume. You're getting what's left. Yeah. And guessing what's left is mostly art and, wetting your finger and, waiting for the wind. Whereas Garoppolo, my guess is Kyle Shanahan looks at Garoppolo and says, there are things we can fix on him. And they're not big fixes, so I think this can be easily done. I just think the risk-reward is out of whack for this deal.
Before I let you go, I wanted to have one Golden State question. We're talking to Ray Ratto, longtime sports columnist in the Bay Area. What is the bigger picture game plan for the Warriors when everybody's healthy? You got a high draft pick. What is next year going to be like?
Well, next year is not going to be this year, because this year is the answer to every question everybody's ever asked. What if the best college team played a team in the pros? Because it's hard on the eyes. Even beating Denver last night, you just go, why am I watching this? This is hideous. But I think the next year's big picture sort of starts with what kind of vibe they get watching Stephen Curry play with Andrew Wiggins and even an injured Draymond Green, to get an idea if they can pick up all the nuances and subtleties that they built up over 5 years, well, really 7 years, and go forward, or whether they think they need to move Wiggins to load up on more draft picks. If they decide they want Wiggins, then they don't have to do anything with their pick, and they can basically take anybody that they want. I just don't know that this is a draft in which immediate help is going to result. But having the worst record and maybe even winning the lottery allows them the luxury of thinking, well, maybe we can package this and Wiggins and get something we really like on the market. So I think the long-term thing is they're going to be okay, but how are they going to be okay? I don't think they believe that Curry's injury is, career damaging. I don't think they think that Thompson's is career damaging. I think they've been ultra conservative in medical decisions since the Durant thing. So that's why they view, Curry as not being a guy they need to rush back. But I think they do want to watch him play with Wiggins to get an idea of what the preferred path for the offseason is, because the preferred path for the offseason is going to tell you how they tackle next year. If everything goes great and Wiggins and Curry fit like a glove together, they're 50 to 54 wins. If it doesn't and they've got to go a different way, it might be a bit more of a scrape to get in.
It just dawned on me, and this probably isn't a fair question to be asking, but
I'm just the girl to ask it to.
Absolutely. If it would have been Klay Thompson or Steph Curry who suffered that injury in the leading into the postseason instead of Kevin Durant, would they have rushed them? But they knew Kevin Durant was probably leaving, or at least had a pretty good indication. I don't know if that factored in getting him back to playing. If it would have been Steph Curry who suffered that injury, would they have expedited his return?
I think they probably would have handled it exactly the same way.
Okay.
I think what happened to Kevin Durant was terrible luck. because there's no real way. I mean, as much as these guys know about medicine, about how a player is going to come back from an injury. I mean, Curry could come back with this bit of nerve damage in his hand and suddenly become a terrible shooter. I mean, I don't think that's the way to bet, and I don't think they rushed Durant back. I mean, if they really felt like they needed to rush him back, he'd have been back a week earlier. I mean, I think this was a combination of educated choices from Durant's people, from the Warriors' medical people, and from the Warriors themselves. I don't think they thought that there was any kind of appreciable risk in re-hurting him.
Okay.
Right. I realize that this disappoints conspiracy freaks everywhere, but I think they should probably spend more time updating their job resumes. I think they got really bad luck, and Durant got the worst luck of all. And I don't think they would have handled him any differently. Or I don't think they would have handled Curry or Thompson any differently than they did Durant, except for the fact that they're different injuries. So to me, I think what happened to the Warriors, I mean, they were playing a very difficult team, and Toronto might have won anyway, but Durant was not, medical malfeasance. It was terrible luck. And, listen, I mean, if they had forced Durant to play, that would be a different argument. Mm. But Durant, who could, look for an alibi any way he wanted, has always said, no, I got no problem with what they did. We signed off on everything, too. I mean, he's backed their play, and when he doesn't really need to. So I think they just, bad luck basically bit them on the head for the first time in half a decade.
Great to talk to you again, Ray. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us as always.
I always enjoy being on Meathead Wednesday.
Thank you. That's Ray Ratto, longtime Bay Area sports writer.